This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
It is ATL Day Ones, a Wednesday hump day edition. I'm Jarvis, that's Tenitra, and if you listen to us on wherever you download your podcast, we appreciate you because you know what? We're more than likely your first listener today, and we always want to thank you for making us a priority when it comes to your listening habits. And also, we like to thank the people that watch us and like us and subscribe to us on YouTube. We definitely appreciate you. We are pushing towards 2,000 subscribers, and we want to make sure that if you haven't subscribed just yet, go ahead and do it. We really appreciate you. And wherever you download your podcast, just go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. We'll keep it simple and short today. I'm not gonna threaten you with your life. We don't want to do that every day. T, we got a lot of good stuff on board for today. As you already know, the Falcons start mandatory mini camps. Ooh, who showed up? Who didn't show up? Ooh. Also, the Atlanta Braves. Orlando Arcia looked real good in that at second base last night and at the plate. Is that the permanent solution? We'll talk about that. And for the culture, T, this one kind of threw me off right here. I'll just say this, y'all. The man lost his job, but he did it for the culture. We'll get into all that. But before we do that, we have to talk about the Atlanta Falcons getting started with mandatory minicamps yesterday. And T, one of the things that we've been talking about ad nauseum and it's starting to get a little tired, I believe a little bit, is the Marcus Mariota Desmond Ridder conversation. Now, Desmond Ridder came in and kind of helped add fuel to the fire, right? Talking about wanting to be the starting quarterback and just really honing in on trying to take Marcus Mariota's position because he was brought in to be the starting quarterback, right? I think a lot of people kind of forget that sometimes. But in listening to, him speak yesterday, it kind of seemed like his tone changed just a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of seemed like he's like, okay, I'm still a rookie quarterback. I'm still need to figure out how to be a professional. And in order for me to get ahead of that, I have to lean on Marcus Mariota for those type of things, right? So I think for me, it just sounded like Desmond Ridder's kind of got a little slap of realization, yesterday, or not yesterday, but as they get closer to training camp, July 26th, the report date, it just seems like he's kind of putting things in perspective right now and trying to focus on the little things before he starts talking about, hey, I'm about to be the starting quarterback for this team.
Yeah. And for me, I think he's been consistent, though. I think he has been consistent in his balance or attempt to balance the desire to be that starting quarterback or be QB1, but on the same token, respecting the fact that if he is QB2 or if he remains QB2 for the duration of the season once it starts, he will be perfectly okay sitting behind someone whom he's long admired. So I feel like that he was just consistent with what he said. And he did also talk about the fact that for him, it's like, but going to your point, if he looks at rookie minicamp and he looks at coming here now to mandatory minicamp, it's like night and day for him. It's like night and day. And what that told me was, that game is speeding up for you slowly but surely. Every step that you take that gets you one step closer to week one gets you closer to game day simulations. And the closer you get to game day simulations, the closer you do see that this is a real thing. But what I love as well is that there's still an appreciation of those around him for who he could be. So I think that's something that, to me, just kind of, and I don't know about you, but he seems like that guy who the wheels are always turning in his head, right? So I could totally see him thinking to himself, let me make sure I pump the brakes, right? Let me make sure that, like you said, I keep that balance that I've been showing all along, the respect, but the pursuit of what QB1 means. But there was a comment that Drake London made yesterday, just in terms of, like you said, the ad nauseum question of how is Mariota, how is Ridder, and he definitely had high praise for Mariota just in terms of him being a veteran and what he's been able to do in the league in the years he's been in the league so far. But he also said something that we've heard consistently, which is the thinker that Desmond Ridder is, the thrower and the strong arm that he has. So I kind of feel like he was just being Desmond Ridder, that is, being consistent with what he said, but I'm sure that doesn't take away from any of that hunger that he has shown us from day one in terms of his true desire, which is to take that spot under center every Sunday.
You know what? I believe wholeheartedly it's still there.
Yeah.
I just think that, when you think about just from because, a lot of people try to build this as a quarterback competition.
Yes.
And I believe that, listening to him, I think he kind of understands it's not really a quarterback competition right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the things that he has to get in line, he has to know how to command the huddle and going into game situations and be put into situations so he can adjust. And I thought Arthur Smith brought up a great point yesterday. He said it's the quarterback job to fix an issue when things go wrong.
Yes.
Like, how do you know how to fix things if you've never been in that situation before?
Right.
Marcus Mariota has been in those positions before. So I think, for those reasons, and until Ridder gets that type of game type experience, when the preseason, because that's why I think the preseason is going to be it's going to be huge for him. As to whether it's not as a quarterback competition, but I think for now, this is not a quarterback competition. I think this is a situation where you have a young quarterback who's very savvy, who knows how to speak to the media, who knows how to put things, and like Drake London said, hey, I have he's a thinker. He's constantly his mind is constantly churning. So those type of people don't normally say the wrong things. They know what they're putting out there. They put things out there for a certain reason for people to kind of marinate on and think about.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily think that Ridder has lost any confidence, but I do know that he knows that he has a lot to accomplish and a lot to constantly do over and over and over again before this even think about this being a competition.
Yeah, without thinking it, but without saying it, because you always have to think it. You always have to think it,
no doubt,
because it's one of those things where it's in theory not a competition, but in reality it is. Because it's not a competition because you haven't gotten into a true game. There's no regular season game to speak of. But it became a competition as soon as you got drafted in that third round, because you're not getting drafted in the third round, which is still technically a higher round, if you will, kind of middle of the road, but kind of higher round. But you're not really getting
the draft,
you're not really getting drafted there if you are at least not going to get potentially, or the thought is that, hey, if you get a whiff or a sniff of that opportunity to start, that we trust that you might actually be able to do it. But it's still is one of those things where I don't think we'll get away from the conversation about who is really going to be the ultimate at QB1. Do I think it's still going to be Marcus Mariota day one or week one? Absolutely. But do I see it being Marcus Mariota week 17 or 18? No. No. And that's why I say that it's still inherently a competition, but it's not anything that you can really compare to until really maybe the first point would be training camp. That's your first pass. And then, like you said, your second pass would be the real deal of preseason games, especially because Arthur Smith kind of hinted at looking at how he approached preseason games last year with players versus how
he admitted that was a mistake. Like, he should have had those young pups going out there, because when you think about it, like Kyle Pitts, a rookie tight end,
who we saw for
save for what? Like save for what? Like, what is there to save? This dude is a house. Like, throw him out there. Like, see what the kid could do. So, but I'm with you on that. I think this preseason we're gonna get a chance to see a lot of young guys play, and they're going to play a lot.
Yes,
indeed. So, speaking of, we're gonna continue to see a certain Atlanta Hawk, DeAndre Hunter. Looks like he's going to be sticking around for the Atlanta Hawks, because the reports came out, I think it was according to Jake Fisher, that the Atlanta Hawks were looking to extend DeAndre Hunter. Now, T, you know how my mind started going. My mind started churning a little bit. I think I may have some little Desmond Ridder in me. So I might started thinking like, okay, if you're gonna keep DeAndre Hunter around, with the draft 10 days away, and there's also reports that they're trying to move up into the lottery, potentially get a guard. So does this take Atlanta out of the running for another superstar to go along with Trae Young?
I don't think so. And I hope not. I truly hope
Okay.
not, because I do think that one key piece that was missing, or that will be missing again, is that veteran leadership, right? I
Right.
and I'm talking about like a true leader, if you will, because yes, Bogey is a veteran, Bogdan Bogdanovic is a veteran, Danilo Gallinari is a veteran, but they're really not those kinds of guys, right? Clint Capella is probably as close as you get on this team, assuming that we probably won't see Lou Williams again. But Clint Capella is probably the
That's
closest
safe.
yeah, it's safe to say.
Yeah,
But
that's safe to say.
CC's probably the closest you get. And Lou Will, you brought him back that second year more so for that veteran presence and being able to help players like Onyeka Okongwu really master the pick and roll for the second unit, to prepare him when he has to go and be in that space for the first unit. Those are the intangibles that you need out of a veteran that you're simply not going to get out of moving up in the draft to get somebody. Now, what I think it might be is it could be a bargaining chip, could be another bargaining chip. It could be some part of a packaging deal, if you will, because we know, and I'm saying the Hawks as in we know that, hey, us at 16 probably doesn't really get anybody excited. But boy, if we move up to say 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever, move essentially within the lottery and get that pick, who knows what leverage we can possibly have. But yeah, I definitely hope that there's no that this doesn't mean there's a turning away from the possibility of bringing a veteran in to really shore things up, especially because in my opinion, you kind of need that I think you need that if you're going to go more in shoring up that backcourt. I far be more comfortable and confident with them going out and getting somebody to complement Trae Young at the 2, if you will, versus maybe going out there and getting
Get
a
another big.
rookie. And
Yeah.
what are we doing, Jarvis? Are we waiting another year or two to see them get back into contention for Eastern Conference? Because that's kind of how I feel. I don't think that this rookie class has anybody as stellar as, some of the past couple years. So
Not immediate. Like there's no LeBron James type prospect out there
yeah,
that's going to come in year one, or John Morant,
right.
even more
Or Cade
recently.
Cunningham. I don't think we got
Cade
that dude.
Cunningham come in like, oh, this
Yeah,
dude gonna be the real deal. I don't
yeah.
think that guy
Anthony
is out
Edwards.
there. Yeah,
That
Anthony
guy's yeah.
Edwards. Like, yeah, and he even took some time to kind
And it
of,
took right,
develop. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it
yeah,
took him a little bit more time than Cade Cunningham. So yeah, unless they are seeing, and hey, look, we trust them. Their eyes are on this 24/7, and they've been scouting these guys since, the day after last year's draft, if not sooner than that, right?
right.
But yeah, when I saw that particular report compared to say some of the others you and I have been seeing of late, and some of the questions that we've been asking our sources, that one was probably the most more of a head scratcher for me. Like, ooh, I hope that's not where the buck stops.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I think that we're definitely going to continue to keep an eye on, because I to be honest with you, them signing him to a long-term deal doesn't necessarily mean he can going to be on the team long-term,
No.
because if you can go ahead and get him signed up and under contract, they might help you get a deal done for a
Yes.
superstar, because so you can
Yep.
match salaries, because you have those that they have to be within a couple million or a few $1 million in order
Right.
for the deal to go through. So I understand what Travis Lane's trying to do. I
Yeah.
think they're hedging their bets, and they're saying, okay, here's a safety net right here. We can go ahead and get this guy under contract, and we're good with moving forward. But if
Yes.
something comes our way
Right.
that we can't resist and we can't turn down,
Yes.
hey, DeAndre Hunter might be on his way. But we don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to stay right here on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, because coming up next, Orlando Arcia might be the answer. We know Ronald Acuna is the answer, but Arcia might be that short-term fix that the Braves need to continue to try to push for this NL East division and try to catch the New York Mets. We'll talk about all that next and because we are Locked On Sports Atlanta and with ATL Day One.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones, also known as the Braves winning party celebration that keeps happening over and over and over again. But thank you for rocking with Jarvis and me. We appreciate you guys for subscribing to our Locked On Sports Atlanta network, closing in on 2,000 subscribers. Continue to subscribe, continue to like and follow us. We appreciate you. And also, be sure that you check us out on any of your platforms. And when you do check us out where you check out podcasts, be sure to give us a 5-star review and let us know how much you are loving this show, because we love hanging out with you guys, even if it's just virtually. We love hanging out with you guys, and we love being able to every single day bring you the good news, being able to say the tagline that Jarvis loves to say, and I quote, "The Braves are still undefeated in June." It just feels great, doesn't it?
Yeah, that is
Absolutely.
cool. Yeah.
And not just that, Jarvis, but the excitement is in the way that they are doing it, these complete games that they're playing. And you can go anywhere from a Max Fried situation where he gets rocked in an inning.
He got touched up a little bit, yeah.
Same token, he gets 6 strikes and only allows one hitter to walk, right? And he completes, and he gets through what, 6 2/3 innings?
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at that positive, right? And then you look at them getting back to the excellence that we've always seen from them from a defensive perspective. So you got that piece. But lo and behold, what is the most exciting thing about this is when you see stats like Dansby Swanson, Travis d'Arnaud, Marcell Ozuna, Orlando Arcia, Michael Harris just doing the darn thing, d'Arnaud and Ozuna back to back in multiple games, right?
Yeah.
So you see things like that, or you look at Arcia and Harris, then going back to back themselves, and you're looking at particularly the bottom of that order, just doing crazy things, right? So those are the things that really excite you, because they're doing it definitely with the long ball. I mean, home runs by a mile, if you will. It's crazy what they're doing. But even doing it with, efficiency, because you're talking about last night in that 10-4 win in game 2 against the Nats, 10 runs, but just 13 hits. So being very efficient and making sure that every at-bat counts, you absolutely love to see it. And it really makes you think to yourself, and I'm going to really single him out because he's a guy that we haven't had an opportunity to talk about a lot of late. So when Ozzie Albies went down, yes, we all thought that the Braves would be fine, but last night was going to be the telltale, so to speak, of whether or not it would be the case. Orlando Arcia gets himself a home run. Orlando Arcia has a nice night out at second base last night. It looks like, Jarvis, he might be at least one of the answers for these Braves in terms of being able to continue with this type of success in the absence of such an important cog in the wheel.
You know what? Just from a production standpoint, I think that he can at least be the short-term answer, right? We can at least get that answer locked down. As far as long-term, how long Ozzie is out past that 60-day barometer that's been set for right now, I think that, we are, looking for those short-term answers. And I think that if you have a short-term answer in-house, that kind of helps you out, right? But we all know how Alex Anthopoulos gets down. If there's something out there, because I think it's different when you go to the table desperately needing an answer versus
no doubt.
I'm willing to talk. Like that's a totally different conversation, right? Like so if you sitting up here saying like, okay, if there's a guy out there, a second baseman that is solid, really solid, rock solid, and you know that they'll benefit you if you add him to that team. That particular team that he's on, he's gonna say, hey, we know what you need. We know you're desperate. So we need to come on about a couple of those prospects you got down there.
That's right.
But that's not necessarily the case here. Because if Orlando Arcia continues to, we're not going to expect him to do what he did last night, every night. Right. But, if he's able to at least show some consistency at the plate and play solid defense, I think that Alex Anthopoulos may be able to make a better move because of that. Because he's not desperate. Because he's not in need of a short-term answer right now, but because he has it. He has it in Orlando Arcia, I believe. So I think that this is something that is just further proves that Alex Anthopoulos, man, is just a really good general manager. And it shows that the Braves have is from a roster building standpoint and having a plan for a backup plan for a backup plan, they have mastered it. And I think that, the Braves are benefiting from it right now.
Yeah, and also having and so it's that leverage that you're
Right.
talking about.
There you
Having
go.
that leverage is critical, but also the leverage that you're having because you made a few moves here and there, right? Some of those moves in-house just saying, okay, what if I switch it up on in the batting order, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put Duvall in that 7 hole, and of course last night Arcia in that 8 hole, and of course Michael Harris the second, bringing it up the rear,
That
and
bottom
it's
of the
like,
lineup has been so productive, right?
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
it's crazy, right? Because there were moments in time where we all scratched our heads and said, "No, what's going on with the bottom of the lineup? What's going on with the bottom of the order?" It wasn't working, and so just a few tweaks here and there with Brian Snicker, and of course, you're bringing Michael Harris up from Double A, and of course, Orlando Arcia is somebody you've brought up and sent back down, brought up and sent back down in terms of last season. So kind of a known commodity there, if you will, and Duvall just starting to absolutely
Rake.
just tear things up right now. He's just so
Yes.
hot. So when you've got those individuals starting to do their thing, and then in the absence of maybe an Austin Riley being Austin Riley, because he's kind of, quieted down or cooled off these recent weeks, but Dansby Swanson is heated up. So as you get those people in place and you get a Max Fried who might have a rough inning here or there but bounces back, or even a Kyle Wright who might have a rough inning but bounces back. And hopefully a Spencer Strider does his thing tonight. All it does is give Alex Anthopoulos the leverage that he needs so that, like you said, he'll listen if there's conversation about what can happen, but he's not desperate to go out and get somebody because he has answers in-house. But yeah, I just really, it's been so exciting as well, just watching. I know we talked about him yesterday, but might as well give him some more flowers today. And it's Michael Harris. I listened to this particular bite, and I said, I love it because remember, we talked about on Tuesday, this team starting to show two things: consistency and identity. And the
Yes.
consistency harkens back to who they used to be, and the identity harkens back to what they will be. And when Michael Harris talked about the pride of playing for the Braves and putting on that uniform and doing everything that he can to show that it was the right decision to make, he said, when he goes out there, he just wants to put on for his city. I was like, oh, channeling your inner Jeezy every time you go out there
Man, come on,
and do
man.
the darn thing.
Golly.
But you love it because we know that it worked when Austin Riley came up initially. Then there were some bumps in the road. Uncle Ron Washington helped him to make some adjustments. And then we got to see the real deal. It never quite worked out with Christian Pache, and that's not why he's no longer on the roster, but it looks like it's working out with MH2.
MH2 is just doing his absolute thing. Like, how could you not like this guy? How could you be a Braves fan and not like what Michael Harris is doing right now? Because you know me, when players start talking like that and acknowledging like the importance of representing where you come from.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that means so much to me for him to hear him say that. And I was actually going to bring up that quote, so I'm glad you brought it up. You kind of snuck me to it, but you beat me to it, T, because I just love when cats talk like that because I understand it. I get it. I understand what he means when he says that. A lot of people might say, oh, okay, yeah, you put on your uniform. No, it's different. It's putting on mean you representing where you come from. You know where you come from, and you're playing for your hometown team that you probably more than likely grew up being a huge fan of because the tradition and history is so rich, with the Braves and with the city of Atlanta. And just being a young brother coming from, Stockbridge and being drafted a few years ago, and then now skipping AAA to get called up, and now he just out here balling, talking about, in the past 7 games, 11 for 26, 423 batting average, 3 doubles, a triple, 2 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 6 RBI, and a 846 slugging percentage. That's ridiculous. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
And to add to that, an elite defender.
Yes.
An
elite defender already.
Elite defender. And I think that, I'm not saying it makes me, it helps me kind of like, it soothes the pain of Ozzie Albies not being there because he's such a fun guy. We know what he brings, not only on the field, but in the locker room as well, in the dugout. But it helps you kind of put it into perspective of like, okay, we know Ozzie is down, but we still can do some things just like
Yes,
they
just like
did
you did last
last
year.
year.
Yeah, without exactly. And I think low key, not that we ever wanted it to come to this situation where you lost someone like an Ozzie Albies, but we're here. The Braves are here.
That's where we
And
are.
at
Yep.
least they have the experience of going through this kind of setback last year, like they did with Ronald Acuna Jr., but a little bit of a flip in that they lost him and then there was kind of a slide before they kind of picked it back up. This
Right.
go round, it's just the opposite, right? They are hitting their stride and maybe have already found the formula, which allows them to be able to minimize the impact maybe a little bit more. Now, when we come back, it's all about the culture. A gentleman who really, really tried to represent for the culture, unfortunately, had to pay for it. We'll talk about it on the other side. It's Jarvis and T right here for you on ATL.
Final segment of ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. We want to say thank you guys for rocking with us throughout the entire show. We always want to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast, and wherever you download your podcast, make sure you give us a 5-star review so everybody, Pookie, Man, Auntie, everybody can learn about us and know about us, and they can love us as well because we know you love us too because we love you as well. All that love stuff. But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture, and sometimes whatever the heck we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Now, T, we know gas prices are going all up and through the roof. I see how for those watching on YouTube, you saw how. I hope you saw how the Tenitra sat up in her chair and swung their head around, just like, Lord, please help us.
Fix it.
Gas prices are going crazy. But one thing I can say about gas prices in Georgia, they ain't nowhere near how it's going down out there in California. And this gas station employee felt the wrath because he made a mistake. Because you know how they set the prices and everything on display and everything out there. So he was told to set the price at $6.99.
Right.
Which is ridiculous. I thought that was a joke as well. But he ended up forgetting the decimal point and set the price to 69 cents per gallon. So everybody and their mama found out. People posting it online on social media, so there's lines all out the door and everything, and end up being a total damage of $16,000. The gas station lost $16,000 in revenue because of this mistake, and ultimately the man ended up losing his job, that sucks, T. But
I know.
Doggone it, he did it for the culture.
Right.
Don't you know I would have
Maybe
pulled up there with Mrs. Winter gallon jugs of trying to fill up the gas, trying to figure that thing out. I would have been trying to go crazy over there, T.
Anything, whatever I could put the gas in, and he would be like, "You're back." Yes, I am. Okay, but ma'am, yeah, I know I just can't. I know I just filled up. But ma'am, you only have one car. That doesn't matter. Okay, I'm gonna get it for me, my sister, my mom, my cousin, and them. All my BFFs, everybody, and I'm gonna tell all of them to come here until you just tell us that there's no more gas here, which I'm sure that was the thing. But 16 grand, when you think about it, even if the average car, right? Literally, if the average car fills up for $100, and heck, at this point, my little sedan is filling up it's taking 70. So let's say it's $100. I can see where you could lose a boatload of business off of a mere decimal point. So everybody, when you are in basic math class and they teach you tens and hundreds and thousands, that's why they teach you that. So that when you see that decimal point, you know immediately something is not right. But he didn't do that.
Yes.
Assuming he was not trying to stick it to the man, because he might have been trying to stick it to the man low key. But
possibly.
But I'm sure everybody in Cali is still tipping their hats and talking about this because gas prices, I mean, it'll stress you out to the point where you probably do dumb stuff like I did, and you probably, maybe get the gas that you shouldn't get, and then you end up having to replace a part on your car because of it.
It
So I
happens.
know the pressure is on as gas prices go up, but bruh, like you just got to take a pause every now and again and make sure. And then look, Jarvis, okay, one car, two cars, five cars, I may not have thought that something was wrong. But when the line starts to like wrap around
Oh,
itself,
it was just the most popular gas station today.
I start
Everybody's
wondering,
passing by us today.
right, why are these folks in line for $7 gas essentially? $6.99, $7 gas. What is wrong? And at that point, I'm starting to check to see what the problem is.
Oh, you gotta see
Especially
something going,
if
something
you
ain't
come
right.
in,
Yeah.
right, you come in and give me a 20 spot, and all of a sudden I'm giving you change back for a full tank. Bruh,
Wow.
there were
Yeah.
signs you did
And,
not
and
follow.
the most interesting though, another little nugget about that article, like the gas hasn't been 69 cents since 1978.
Right, right.
Good Lord. Like I was like, I remember
Exactly.
when gas was under $1, and people used to give you $5 back in the day. And they'd be like, whoa, all
Yeah,
right, appreciate you. Thank you. I get multiple
right.
gallons of gas. But now, man, you're going somewhere that barely get you a gallon now. But real quick, before we get out of here, I know we wanted to talk about this. Idris Elba's supposed to be the lead guy in 007, James Bond. Go ahead, T.
I have 4 words. There is a God. That's all I'm saying. That's it. Period. Just wow. Amazing.
Congratulations, Idris.
Yes. And because you're
Yeah.
such an amazing actor, like you
Right.
really, really are. Like, yeah. So
Yeah, I'm sure that's the reason why you're saying that.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's a tremendous actor. Hey, look, everything I've ever seen him in, I like him in, right?
Yeah, it don't
Yeah,
matter what he's in either.
No, like he could be doing Sesame Street, and I'm sure we would all think that should be up for an Emmy. The end. So we're
All
just
right.
so grateful that he's back in the conversation. But okay, I'm going to be serious for a hot second. Everybody likes representation, right? And It was the coolest thing to see Halle Berry as a 007 girl because she represented women of color. So that was really cool. So it would be really cool to have a Black James Bond because,
No doubt.
again, anytime you see representation, especially if you are younger and maybe you're an aspiring actor, for example, it makes you just say, well, wow, if that guy that kind of looks like me is able to pull it off, maybe it's not out of the realm of possibility for me to do it. So on a positive note, I do like to be able to tell my nephews, wow, look, someone who looks just like you guys is going to be taking over potentially this iconic role. And real talk, he really is a genuinely good actor. So I do believe that he will do.
All jokes aside,
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely believe he'll do this justice. But we will be watching. Just like we want you guys to watch us as your number one stop on Locked On Sports Atlanta. Check out ATL Day Ones each and every day. And make sure you check out Hitting Hard with John Chuckery as well. Like I have said to you guys over and over in this 13-game winning streak, this stretch for the Braves, boy, oh boy, someone like Chuck is someone you want to hear from to give you the good, the bad, the ugly. But man, is it nice that he can give you a lot of good. As we say every day, please, for your own sake, be safe because I'm telling you, it is hot. That's why they still call this place Atlanta. See you tomorrow.
Y'all come back now here, and don't forget to turn on the AC.